All right. Welcome to this week's episode of Weirdos Like Me. I am your chief weirdo, Dr. Shannon. Today, we're going to talk all about digital minimalism. Technology is obviously amazing, and yet also sometimes gets a really bad rap. We can appreciate technology, but we're also super aware of how when it's used improperly, it can hurt us. For example, email can be super useful. The fact that you can get it anytime at all times of day can be useful. But at the same time, that can also be super stressful. Facebook can be very empowering, and it can also be distracting at the same time. The fact that we can reach anybody at any time of day via our phones can be both very helpful when it comes to work productivity and also super detrimental for productivity. It's a catch-22. It's all in how you use it. So for me, it's about harnessing technology and creating my digital life to be one that's as productive and as helpful as it can be, which then allows me to enjoy the benefits of technology without letting it hinder my growth and my production. So the ultimate question is, how do you simplify your digital life? There's one school of thought on digital minimalism in which you totally ditch digital stuff altogether to allow for more time, space, energy to truly enjoy life to the fullest. I get that. I really do. I love the concept. However, realistically speaking, for most of our lives today, or at least let me speak for myself, for my life, I cannot completely ditch technology, and I can't completely ditch the digital life. I mean, I am currently filming a video podcast that you're either watching through a digital platform like YouTube, or you're listening through a digital platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So it's just part of my life. It is what it is. So for me, I subscribe a little bit more to a different thought process. For me, it's going to be more of, rather than totally eliminating the digital world, I want to simplify it. I want to use it in the most efficient way possible and use technology without letting technology use me, if that makes sense. It's not easy though. How many times have you, I'm saying you, but I really mean me, picked up your phone to create a reminder of some sort to like be productive, right? And then you have a Facebook notification that pops up in that moment. So you obviously have to click on it. And then you look at the clock, it's 30 minutes later. You've now watched 15 funny cat videos, but ultimately you don't even remember the reminder that you were going to put in your phone. So now you're 30 minutes behind. I mean, you got some good laughs and some cute cat videos, but now you're just super distracted and you don't even remember what you were doing in the first place. And like I said, I know because I've been there. So I've had to put systems in place to prevent distraction and allow myself to utilize technology to my advantage. So there are some fundamental elements of digital minimalism that you just have to know if you're going to start this journey. First, you have to understand that you have choice and intention. You still choose to use technology, but only what you want and only in the ways that connect to your values, which we're going to talk a little bit more about choosing your values in a minute. Second, you then have to optimize the tools that you choose to use. Only allow in what works for you. This means you need to take a hard look at how you spend your digital life and decide what's working to help you, and then also what's hurting you. And you have to be open and honest about it. I mean, nobody really wants to give up all their Facebook reels, but if it's hurting your productivity, you have to be raw and honest and say, hey, this is not working for me. I need to do something about it. Third, we got to let go of FOMO. And this is the hardest one. It's hard for me. You can't minimize your digital life and expect to be everywhere all the time. If you don't minimize your digital life, you can't be anywhere or everywhere all the time, I should say. You just can't. You can't be everywhere at all times, no matter what. So we just have to accept it. Social media and a lot of technology companies leverage FOMO. I guess I should say what FOMO is, right? Like fear of missing out, right? So a lot of companies leverage this and make you think that if you're not constantly monitoring what everybody else is doing and you're not keeping up, I guess in the old days, it was like keeping up with the Joneses, now keeping up with the Kardashians, although we're probably past that. And now I'm probably aging myself. Anyway, but if you're not keeping up with what everyone else is doing, well, you're missing out and it's like the end of the world or something. But honestly, it's not. And if you accept that, then you will be okay to miss out on the quote unquote everything else that's occurring, which actually allows you to be truly present in what's occurring in that moment in your life, which is actually kind of cooler when you think about it. So there are a lot of ways that you can dive into digital minimalism, but for purposes of today's episode, we're just going to start with some of the basics, okay? Here are a few things that I've enlisted with digital minimalism, and I've found that it really helps to relieve mental clutter. So a lot of times with all these digital and technological things happening, there's just too many things happening, right? Your brain can only process so many bits of information per minute. It's a lot, but there is still a finite number. If you're then distracting yourself with a lot of digital clutter, then you're not going to be able to really take in everything else around you. So there are some really simple, easy things we're going to talk about that's going to help with that. But first and foremost, here's what we have to do. You have to define your values and your goals. What do you want to achieve with how you spend your time? All right. Then you have to look at every part of your digital life, and then you have to ask, does this support working towards that goal or that value, or does it distract and detract from it? All right, so that's super important, and that's the baseline question you just have to keep in your head at all times. So if you're thinking about something when it comes to technology and saying, is this going, should I be doing this or not? I want you to say, what is my goal? And is this supporting my goal or is it detracting from it? For example, if one of your goals and one of your values is to increase optimism in your life, and you want to foster more of that value in your life, then ask yourself, is scrolling Facebook for hours a day, reading every negative comment on the national news threads, a way to support more optimism in your life? Probably not. Instead, why don't you like and follow local organizations and people that do things, that are currently doing things that actually support optimism, that are doing good things. So when you look at it, you're going to be inspired, right? So that way, when you scroll Facebook, you're seeing all these good things pop up on your feed versus all of the negativity. So you don't have to totally give up being digital. You don't have to give up technology, but just create it to support your values. Here's another one. If you value self-improvement, then like and follow people on social media that post about self-improvement. Unfollow people. Here's something important too. Unfollow people who constantly post negative things. Unfollow the trolls. And dare I say, clean up your friends list. You are allowed to unfriend people who do not fit in the life that you want to create for yourself. Okay. Or if you want to take another strategy, you be so uplifting and positive that you annoy all of those negative people, and then they unfriend you and you don't actually have to do it. I just gave away my secret right there. That's my passive aggressive optimism strategy right there. Anyway, back to examples. If you value more quality time with your kids, maybe having unstructured screen time for everyone is not the best way to do it. Like, meaning just letting everybody be on screens at any point, right? What if instead you choose times a day where it's like open device time, right? You can be on a device, you cannot, you can do whatever you want. But there are certain non-negotiable times that are device free, like dinner time, movie night. I mean, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be long stretches of time, but maybe this allows you to compartmentalize it so that you're not quote unquote restricting technology time for you and your kids, but you're also creating a framework in which, if dinner is 30 minutes and that's screen-free time, that 30 minutes of not being on screens and devices can help create that quality time so that the rest of the night, even if everybody's separate doing their own things, you did have that quality time. And that might actually be way better than everyone just being kind of halfway with each other the entire night. So with all that being said, I want you to pay attention to your technology crutches, so to speak. Think about, when do you start scrolling mindlessly on social media? Is it when you're trying to procrastinate doing a task? Is it when you're trying to avoid doing something? Once you learn your triggers, you can work through them. For example, if you know that you procrastinate starting your, let's say work projects by picking up your phone and scrolling Facebook, and then you spend 15 minutes watching Facebook Reels, and then you realize you just do this as a pattern over and over again, what you can then do is right before you go to start your work project, put your phone on silent and put it on the opposite side of the room, and then physically walk over and sit down on the opposite side of the room to start your work project. That way, once you're sitting down, you can no longer just reach for your phone and then mindlessly start scrolling. You have to physically get up to go get it, which creates a physical boundary, so to say, and it's going to make it more difficult to distract yourself. If, for example, you know that in the middle of the task, or in the middle of a task, I should say, you get a text and that you're just going to be prone to pick up your phone and start responding to that text. If you hear your phone go off, then put your phone on do not disturb at the beginning of a task so that nothing will even pop up on your phone to even tempt you into distraction. So honestly, that's what I do when I film these podcasts. Otherwise, no joke, 100% admit, I would get so distracted with text messages and notifications that I don't know that I would ever get through filming an entire episode. So do not disturb is my best friend when it comes to getting stuff done. So those are some big framework strategies that you can use to be more productive, but there are also really tiny, I shouldn't say tiny, they seem tiny, little things that you can do to jumpstart your digital minimalism to help clear distractions and clear some of the mental clutter in your brain, but they're honestly not small. Like they're easy to do, but they make big impacts. So I should say that. So for example, when was the last time you looked at the home screen on your phone? Like I'm assuming like Android, iPhone, right? A smartphone. When was the last time you looked at your screen and looked at all the apps that are on there? Do you use all of them? Or are there pages of apps that you could probably delete? And then that way you just have everything in one spot and you're not having to scroll through and find all these things. I know for me, there were apps that I haven't used in years that were on the first page of my home screen. And the other day I just went through and deleted a bunch because I was having to scroll and scroll and scroll to get to apps that I actually use. And, it's a little thing, but it does take up mental energy to do that. So another thing to look at is go through your texts and delete old text threads. I did this one afternoon. I literally had text threads from like 4 years ago still on my phone. And I was like, why do I have this? So I went through and deleted them and then also found texts that I hadn't responded to because it got so lost in everything. So that's a really good way to make sure you're actually keeping up with things. The less that you have to look at when you're looking at all those texts, the more likely you are to actually get everything responded to in a timely fashion. Do the same with your voicemails. Delete old voicemails. What's worse than getting somebody's voicemail that says, sorry, you can't leave a message because their inbox is full, or voicemail inbox, whatever it is, right? Like, don't be that person. Delete old voicemails. And then this is something I actually did a couple of weeks ago. It took me like an hour, but I did it while I was watching a movie, right? So this was not like I took even an extra hour out of my life. I was like, all right, I'm going to sit down, watch a movie and simultaneously do a mindless task of unsubscribing from so many email lists that I never read. I've lost so many emails over the last year. I'm kind of ashamed to say, because I get so many emails a day that I just started ignoring them. Okay. Like I literally, emails are like the new junk mail, right? Like I don't get junk mail anymore physically in my mailbox, but the amount of junk mail I get in my email inbox is outrageous. And I was missing important emails because of that. So I spent an hour one night and I just went through, and for the last month, any email that I still had unread because I just didn't even look at it, I unsubscribed from it. And I did that, I think, like 2 nights in a row. And it made such a difference. And it takes a few days for some of those mail lists to catch up. But now I'm actually I'm not missing my emails because they're not amongst 1,000 junk mail things. So that's a huge one. Create folders in your email inbox. This is huge for work, right? So create folders in there that categorize things for you. And then as you get emails, just drop them into that folder so that you can search them easily later. I have one that's like urgent to do, and then I have other ones too. So if I can't get to it in that moment, I'm going to move it into that inbox. So that way, at the end of the day, I just make sure those are all taken care of at the very least. Here's another one. Photos and videos on your phone. Oh my gosh, this is probably like the hardest thing for everybody, right? I mean, how many photos of your kids, your animals, your whatever it is that you have on your phone, and they're like duplicates, right? So you take like 1,000 pictures and you never go back and delete the duplicates. It takes up a lot of space on your phone. You can never then find the photo that you want to show somebody. So there's actually a feature on a lot of phones where it picks out the duplicates for you. I deleted like 500 duplicates the other day in one click by doing that. And I didn't need to spend any time going through them. I've also created albums on my phone. So as I take photos, as I take screenshots, I move them into the album so I can find them later, because I've screenshotted so many things like recipes or whatever it is. And then I go to try to find it a week later, and I have so many photos that I'm like, yep, never mind. I guess I'm screenshotting it again. And then you just add to the pile. So create albums, and that's going to help you be able to find these things later. And I kind of touched on this earlier, like some of these things seem like they can take a really long time to do, but honestly, if you just pick one of these categories and spend 5 minutes a couple of times a day on them, you can conquer this task pretty quickly and then keep it maintained really flawlessly. And you know what? Don't take extra time out of your day. Kind of like when I sat down to watch a movie, I simultaneously unsubscribed from emails. It's kind of like a mindless task. Pick times where you're already occupied doing something else that you can do this. So for example, if you're waiting in the school pickup line for your kid to get out of school, instead of scrolling Facebook, spend 5 minutes unsubscribing from the emails you received that day that you don't want to be a part of anymore. Or like I did this the other day at Costco because I went on the weekend, first mistake, but the line to check out was like crazy halfway across the store. So while I was sitting in the line, I just went through some of my photos and I deleted things that I no longer needed. So use time that you're already doing something else to keep up with some of this. And if you do that, digital minimalism doesn't have to be so overwhelming. Little actions create shifts that lead to huge progress over time. True digital minimalism is more about consistent, steady systems that you put in place to keep yourself from getting sucked into the digital abyss, which sounds insanely dramatic, but I mean, it's kind of true, right? So just remember, first and foremost, define your core values and your goals, and then ask if what you're doing with technology is supporting or detracting from that goal. And most importantly, take it one step at a time. You don't have to minimize everything and give up all technology forever. I know I'm never going to do that. Just make it work for you. Okay. All right. If you are not in our Weirdos Like Me Facebook group, make sure you join so we can continue the conversation. And if you like what you're seeing and hearing, help me to keep making this podcast by subscribing to this channel and sharing these videos with a friend. So for now, I am Dr. Shannon and I'm signing off, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Weirdos Like Me.